Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Lamarco, and just want to let you guys know we are going to do another team preview today. This time it's my New York Giants, and we have a special guest, his Eagles. But before we do that, we want to make sure you know where you're listening, what podcast you're listening to. Of course, this is the Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, aka the TCK Pod. Remember, this podcast is now brought to you by our partners over at the Believe Podcast Network. Guys, they have over 300 different shows on that network. Fantastic. A bunch of, former players have podcasts. Go check out Believe Podcast Network and, go check out our podcast over there as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe. It goes a long way to help us. If you guys listen to us on the Apple Podcast, be sure you rate and review the podcast. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way for us. But please make sure you're subscribing on YouTube and also follow us on all your podcast platforms. If you're following us on Twitter, of course, my co-host Sky Gawasco, myself, Bobby Lamarco. You can find us on Instagram as well at fantasyfootball_TCK pod for Sky and myself at fantasyfootballxfactor. Now, one of the things I want to bring up today, guys, is fantasy football draft season's right around the corner. And I know a lot of us want to talk about, are we going to do it back in person? I'm telling you, if you guys are getting your drafts back together, you got to do it with draftwithredzone.com. Now, Draft with Red Zone is more than just a draft board. This draft board comes with over 400-plus player stickers. If you're in a deeper league, it's a 14 teams, 20 rounds deep. You can fit a massive, massive league on that. But it also comes with an engraved ring case and a championship ring, which I think is the coolest part about the whole package. You also get a last place sign. If you have a buddy who came in last, you got a sign you can wear around his neck, and he has to draft on it. Awesome. If you guys are in a league that's more casual, and you want cheat sheets, you actually get cheat sheets exclusively from fantasypoints.com. So you get a whole plethora of a package, plus all their draft boards. They provide donations to kids who play sports. So if you guys also goes to a good cause, so please make sure you're doing that. Go make sure you use the promo code TCK for 10% off. Now, Before I bring on my guest, I just want to let you guys know we talked beforehand, and we're on good terms as an Eagles and Giants fan. We're ready to have a good time today. I'm here to bring Nick, the fantasy football guy. Nick, what's going on, man?
Evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Dude, I'm really excited to talk about my Giants today. We've been talking for a couple weeks. As soon as I heard you're an Eagles fan, I was like, dude, we got to get you on the podcast, and now you're here. I'm excited, man. I hope you have some good nuggets for us.
I got some few, bro. I got a few.
All right. Awesome, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. So let's get right into it. Well, first off, how it does, and everyone knows we'll do these team previews. I break down. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the Giants first today, warm things up a little bit, talk about how some great moves the Giants have made this offseason. Of course, I think one thing that has to be highlighted about the New York Giants is that Saquon Barkley's back. Thank the good Lord. He is back. We're super excited about Saquon. We also bring in guys like Kenny Golladay, which, he's going to give us that elite number one, bringing in Kyle Rudolph as well, and Devonta Booker to back up Saquon Barkley. So they've done a lot of work to surround him in free agency, but then they also went in on the draft. Brought in Gary Brightwell, another running back in the 6th round, and, of course, Kadarius Toney, the 1st-round pick. Something moving up front. You got a little bit of Cam Fleming and Kevin Zeitler are both gone. They are replacing those guys in-house. So the offensive line might be a little bit of concern going into year 2 with Jason Garrett. Now, before I get started, let me just get your quick thoughts. Do you have any 2 cents on Jason Garrett? What are your thoughts overall about Jason? Because he is a Cowboy, and he comes to the Giants. So what are your thoughts? You've seen a lot of Jason Garrett. What's your thoughts about him?
I actually like him as an offensive coordinator. He didn't do so well as a Dallas Cowboy coach, but not a lot of guys have done very well lately as a Cowboys coach. I mean, the last guy that really did something good was Jimmy Johnson, probably. I like Dallas. I like Jason Garrett for you guys, man. I do like him. I think he's sound. He's logical. He's creative. I think you guys can do well with the pieces that he's brought in, and the upper echelon. Your general manager, like you just mentioned, Kenny Golladay. Man, he was going, I think, top 5 last year before everything kind of really happened. In some leagues, he was going top 5 wide receivers. I saw him go over DeAndre Hopkins in some drafts I was in last year. So I like Kenny G. And I'm kind of always been on the side. I might take some heat for this, but I've always kind of been on the side that a receiver can make the quarterback when the quarterback's not that superior superstar quarterback. If you have a good wide receiver like Kenny G, he's going to help Daniel Jones along a lot.
I agree to an extent that it does work. Ask Mitch Trubisky, though. I don't know if Allen Robinson could. He tried. Allen Robinson was a beast, but you might be right. I just think that it was the missing piece of the puzzle, that elite number one receiver. We'll dive into that in a second, but that number one, that true elite guy now sets up the rest of receivers to be in better positions. Sterling Shepard kicks inside to play the slot, and that's better for him. And also you got Slayton on the outside, who's a great deep threat, and he's going to be a fantastic third option. So now you're taking away those top corners away from Slayton. You put him on Golladay. Golladay can beat those top. I think everybody's in better position to succeed this season. But let's dive into it. Let's talk about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones last year, 17.1 points per game. That was the QB 29 and 6 points per passing touchdowns. Not going to get it done. Currently, though, there seems to be more optimism in the industry for him. His ECR currently is 21. His ADP is QB 21. He's going just outside the top 150. Now, I'm going to give you my 2 cents about Daniel Jones. I mean, this is so – when I was looking at Daniel Jones, when I think about it, I always talk about the second-year leap. And when you look at coordinators and coaching teams, coaching staffs, it takes about a year for the passing game to really take off. And the good example is, look at last year. Aaron Rodgers, for example, second year with Matt LaFleur, he went up 9.4 points per game and 6 points per passing touchdown leagues. Kyler Murray, second season with a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, up 7.1 points per game. Kirk Cousins, technically the second year with – sorry, my screens keep going on. What's going on? Kirk Cousins in his second year. Technically, yes, Gary Kubiak was a senior advisor, but that offense stayed in place. Gary Kubiak, Kirk Cousins went up 3.6. Matt Ryan, with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley last year, only played 5 full games with those two guys on the field for the entire game. He averaged 26.9 points per game with those guys versus 21.2 the previous year. We see this growth in the second year. That's what's going to happen this year with Daniel Jones. The question is, does that 17.1 turn into 22, or does it turn into 19? I mean, I don't know. I know there's going to be growth. But the other thing about Gary, like you brought up, there was 13 seasons he was the head coach or offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. In those 13 seasons, he had 10 QB1 finishes for quarterbacks. That's Tony Romo. That's Dak Prescott. So it's proofs in the pudding. This guy is whatever you think about Jason Garrett. I might not be the biggest fan of him, but when you look at the data, he's produced QB1s. 11 of those guys it's 11 of 13 seasons in points per game were actually in the top 12. And also 9 of the 13 seasons, there was top 10 finishes. So we're not talking just fringe top 12. Inside the top 10, 9 of 13 seasons. So from looking at that data, I just think to myself, with the weapons around Daniel Jones, he's going outside the top 20 quarterbacks. He's going at pick 150. This is the type of quarterback, if you decide to wait completely and you draft like in the 12th round, 13th round, you're going all in on late round quarterback. He's a great QB2 to see what the upside is. And the thing is, if it doesn't work and it doesn't improve, you only spent, a 14th round pick on him, you can dump him in 2 weeks. So that's kind of why I'm keeping an eye on Daniel Jones. I think he's someone you can draft at the end of your draft as a QB2. If you don't draft one of the elite guys, I'm not going to say you draft Kyler Murray in round 5 and then you draft Daniel Jones. Don't do that. But if you wait on quarterback and you're taking a shot on 2, that's what I think. So what are your thoughts about Daniel Jones and your feelings overall into 2021?
Man, love the stats you brought. Amazing. First off, awesome stats. Very, very sound logic with all that. I actually am a big person of myself. I love how you're trending comparisons. I love that because I also agree with the second year leap, especially with the continuity. They got continuity of care now. So Jason Garrett's, just like an Andy Reid, man, like you just brought up those 10 years of quarterback ones. He's like a quarterback whisperer. He's going to get Daniel Jones. The thing I love about Daniel Jones, if Saquon comes back healthy, same kind of thing why I like Sam Darnold a little bit this year. Maybe we'll get to see Sam Darnold that we never got to see. We'll see. But what I'm getting about is Daniel Jones, right? Dumps off a pass to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley houses that. Guess who, for fantasy, guess who also gets all those points? Daniel Jones.
Jones.
So it's gonna, like you said, everybody's in a better position to succeed.
Yeah.
So barring
100%.
injuries, man, I like it. I'm optimistic about Saquon. His thighs are, I did a big write up on ACL injuries in the history. So history kind of is against him, but he's evolution, man. If one person's going to come back, it's going to be him.
Yeah, 100%.
I love Kadarius Toney on your team too. I'm a big fan of Kadarius. I've been taking him in all my dynasty leagues I can get. Every startup dynasty league I've done this year, I got Kadarius Toney on that team, most likely. So I'm a big fan of Kadarius.
You know what? I'll say this too. The thing I like about what the Giants is now they have depth too. So if, for example, there is an injury, let's say Evan Engram goes down, you have Kyle Rudolph, who's an established red zone threat and a good blocker. He's someone that can step right in and be a solid player for them. Then on top of that, if one of the main three guys go down, you have Kadarius Toney waiting in the wings. He's probably going to be the wide receiver 4 going into the season. So quality depth is also a nice security blanket. That's why I just feel like Daniel Jones is probably – I mean, Saquon Barkley makes everything better. So I agree, man. That little dump off to Saquon, that's fantasy points for Daniel Jones too. Yeah,
he does. And, Kadarius Toney, man, he really improved his final season in the Gators, in the U. His hands are like glue. He's very, very hard to tackle in the open field. I can see him doing punt return, kick returns for you guys. He's going to be a slot wide receiver. He's going to benefit. He's going to be like an Anquan Bolden type of player for you guys. He's going to have his big boy pants on from week 1, and he's going to lay some hits on some guys. I love his physicality. I'm a big fan of Kadarius. It's going to be hard not for me to root for you guys this year. It really, really is.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love this.
Hey, like I said, like you said, we mentioned we post talk for pre-games, and I've always kind of like some Giants fans, man. Jeremy Shockey, Mario Manningham. And they beat the Patriots. I
love that. You gotta love that.
Did you? The NFC East is their Achilles heel, brother. I mean, they got me in 2005, but we got them back. So
I like it, man. I like it.
Yeah, man. So I'm very optimistic about your guys' team. I'm not drafting necessarily Daniel Jones, but I like that, man. As a late, deep 14-round guy, if he doesn't pan out, like you said, he's essentially free anyways. So
I think it's a good partnership with a second quarterback if you're drafting guys in the double-digit rounds. If you're taking a late 100%. Quarterback, you probably should. If you're going to wait that long on quarterback anyway, you probably should take 2 because those guys aren't guarantees. And you take your shot on guys. And Daniel Jones runs. The other thing about people don't realize, too, before his injury last year, he was running a lot. He was going to get into that top 5-6 range for rushing yards for quarterbacks. So that's another dimension to his game that actually brings up his floor. So he was so bad as a passer last year. He still had 17 points per game. So if he improves at all in the passing game, that rushing baseline is what you want in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm huge into rushing quarterbacks in fantasy football.
Because you're a smart man, my friend. That's why. So let's talk about my Saquon Barkley. Barkley, there isn't much to really break him down last year. I mean, listen, the guy got hurt right away, and that Steelers game was just absolutely atrocious. So I'm going to give him 100% a full pass. Also, we noticed a couple things going on to that offensive line early on in the season. There was some Joe Judge and Mark Colombo were having the butt heads a little bit. They finally got things figured out. We saw glimpses of the run game with Wayne Gallman down the stretch. So it's encouraging to see Wayne Gallman do well. If Wayne Gallman can put up points, that means I feel like Saquon Barkley would do well too. But exactly. But the thing about Barkley, he's going ECR right now 5, ADP 8. And ADP overall is 8. So he's going in the top 8 because he should, right? But when I'm looking at Barkley, I have to pull out some data because Eli Manning is a little different than Daniel Jones. Eli Manning was very reliant on dumping off to the receivers, to the running backs, because he's not mobile. Mobile quarterbacks don't necessarily dump down as much. So when I went into this actual research, I actually was a little concerned. I was like, maybe Barkley's not going to be as good as I thought he was with Daniel Jones. Well, the good news is he's just as good. So in the 8 full games in 2019 that he played, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley averaged 17.4 points per game in half-point PPR. Now, when you're looking in that compared to 2020 running backs, that's right around RB5 range. That's like Aaron Jones, a little bit better than Aaron Jones, but a lot lower than Derrick Henry. So he's not close to the upper echelon. the Alvin Kamaras, the Delvin Cooks. No one's touching McCaffrey. But he's also about 2 points or so less than Derrick Henry. So there is a cliff still. But that 17.4 would have been better than guys like Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, etc. So he's still showing elite points per game production with Daniel Jones. So that gives me more of a
You froze up. Oh, no, it's not me. There we go.
Sorry about that, folks. Man, we'll be right back, man. Hold on. We got this. There we go. We're back up and running.
All right.
I know, skipping a beat. We'll cut that out. No worries.
Dang it.
Yeah. So
Saquon, Saquon Barkley.
first podcast ever, Nick, and that happens. I'm sorry, man. You're bad luck. This might be you. I'm blaming you.
It's like in the fire department. I'm a black cloud.
All good, man. No worries. So what we're gonna do here is I just broke down just kind of this that Barkley still produced at an elite level. But he's not gonna give you that 20 plus that you like to see from what you think Barkley's talent should give you. But based on some of that information, maybe the slow start. I kind of am feeling a little bit on the 8 side than the top 4 side for Barkley. Where are you drafting Barkley right now in drafts? Are you thinking he's top 5, or are you willing to take Henry, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Eckler, whatever? What's your thoughts on Barkley?
Yeah, I hate to say it because, I never root against a player. I'm very optimistic, as I previously mentioned, that he can come back and perform at his highest level. But all my research I've done on injuries, knowing a little bit about paramedicine and, orthopedics myself, his production is going to drop in one way or the other, 15%, 10%. It's going to drop a little bit. Do I think he can come back and be productive? Absolutely. But is he going to be a top 5 running back?
Yeah.
There, I don't think I'm going to be drafting him as top 5. Right where you have him, 8, 9, yes. PPR, I can put him at 7, 6. Standard, I'm going 8, 9. I'm worried about the knee. I got to see it. Now I'm hearing some reports that they're not certain he's going to roll out week 1.
Yeah.
I get it, man. These guys want to play, but you can't be like any given Sunday, Lawrence Taylor. Hey, give me the juice, coach. I got to get my bonus.
I like it.
You can't do that. So they're game managing these guys these days heavily. Injuries, concussion protocol. It's a different game. So it's not like you can just roll out there like Dick Butkus with a cast on these days, man. So that's what I'm worried about. And rightfully so. So to bake that into a top 5 as my first overall pick, I'm just going to factor that variable in, and I'm going to say no. I'm going to go with the Henry. I'm going to go with the Kamara. I'm even going to go with the Jonathan Taylor over him. I'm a Jonathan Taylor truther. He's my guy.
JT.
You probably know that by now. So
Yeah.
JT, he's my boy. But no, I love Saquon, man. If he can come back and the team, like you say, can put everybody in a spot and they can get that magic going on, find that continuity, find their rhythm, they can. The NFC is wide open. It's wide open. It really is. It really is. It's not a 2-man show. It's a 3-4-man show at the end of the day. I'm optimistic about my coach too, Nick Sirianni. Even as a first-year coach, I'm optimistic about the guy, man. I really am.
Hey, whoa, don't you infringe on my team right now. We'll get to your Eagles, my friend, all right? We'll talk about Nick Sirianni.
Right. So, the horse.
Yeah, so that's good, man. And honestly, I think that's where it comes down to it. You got to pull that trigger at the 4, 5, 6 pick, and I just don't know. I'm a big Austin Eckler fan. In PPR, Austin Eckler all day over Saquon. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, he's just otherworldly special. He's probably this generation's Adrian Peterson on the talent level.
Yeah.
So it's hard to fade him. And it's always a bad idea to fade those guys. AP, remember, I think he had like a 2,000-yard rushing season after an ACL tear. So I get it. But I just think from the numbers I saw with Daniel Jones, I just feel more comfortable with him after pick 5. I probably will. JT's maybe where I kind of draw the line. Maybe I don't even think I could draft Kelsey, but I would say 6, maybe 7 right after Elliott in that range. All right, let's talk about Kenny Golladay.
Perfect.
Unless you got something else you want to add.
Okay.
Let's talk Kenny G.
No, just I was going to add real quick about Daniel Jones, like you say, being late value. Another way for fantasy to give your quarterback even more value is actually pairing them with a running back. You know, everybody likes to do that double up with their wide receiver and the quarterback, but pairing them. So these small guys that are paired up with these quarterbacks, these running backs, you take a Saquon, you wait on that quarterback, like you said. You get a 14th rounder Daniel Jones, but he's got a stud muffin of a freaking running back. They're gonna benefit off each other just like a wide receiver would. So it's kind of a good little, strategy to employ if you want to take heavy running back and wait on quarterback, or just go heavy with other skill positions and wait on that subpar quarterback. That's a strategy I like to do.
All right, that's good to know, man. There's a couple probably other ones we could talk about later. All right, so let's talk Kenny G, man. So Kenny Golladay is I've done a lot of work on shadow coverage, and 2019 Kenny Golladay versus shadow coverage versus some of the best cornerbacks in football. The guy was absolutely dominant. He dominated some of the best cornerbacks in football when he's in shadow coverage, and that's the thing about Kenny Golladay he brings to the table. Now, originally when I was doing this, before my research, I'm not a big Kenny Golladay for fantasy, but I did find some things that made me a little more optimistic about him. But let's talk about where Kenny Golladay is going right now. So last year was kind of a lost year, 11.2 points per game, 31 in points per game for wide receivers, but it was a lost year for Kenny Golladay. I'm willing to throw that out. ECR has him 23, ADP 26, overall 61. So he's going in the top of the 6th round. Now, Kenny Golladay is kind of giving me the warm and fuzzies of Stephon Diggs, kind of like when Stephon Diggs went to the Bills and how he went to an established team with a quarterback. He's a quarterback. He's a free agent. And Stephon Diggs is one of the most efficient wide receivers. He just needed the volume, and he got it. And then he exploded. This could be something where Kenny Golladay kind of falls into that. And I'm going to kind of share why I have that feeling. So I looked at Dallas number 1 receivers under Jason Garrett from 2007 to 2017. The final 2 years, they didn't really have an elite number 1. So I was basically looking at Terrell Owens, Miles Austin, and Des Bryant. So I wanted to see when they had that true elite guy, where are the numbers falling for them? So on average, targets 133, which is more than anything Golladay has gotten in Detroit. So the 133 targets will be good for him. They averaged 133, 77 receptions, 1,138 yards, 10.7 touchdowns, which comes out to 216 points in half-point PPR. That's a 16-game pace, and that's 13.5 points per game. That would have been the wide receiver 12 last year, tied with Tyler Lockett. Those are the averages for the Terrell Owens, the Miles Austins, the Des Bryants under Jason Garrett. So when I was like, okay, well, and then my first thing is now that I know the offense is conducive for an elite number 1, is Daniel Jones going to be able to do this for him? One of the things that I looked at is the deep passing game. Kenny Golladay actually had 41% of his yards in 2019 from deep passes alone. So that's 20 yards downfield. He generated that. Yeah, so that's just – he's a big, deep threat. honestly very underrated. League average for wide receivers is about 23%. So he is well above the league average when it comes to generating yards from the deep passing game versus his total. So that really brings me to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a great deep ball thrower. I did not know this. I'm sorry. When you watch games, he's so erratic. You don't realize it. The deep passing percentage in 2020 was under 10%, not what you'd like to see. You would like to see him challenge defenses more. But when he did go downfield, he had the PFF number 3 grade when it comes to deep passing. He was 7th in deep ball accuracy amongst all quarterbacks last year. So he's inside the top 10 when it comes to being accurate downfield. And now you give him a guy like Kenny Golladay. That sounds like me to a match made in heaven. I went from not drafting Kenny Golladay at all to I'm interested now at this 5-6 turn range, because I feel like if Daniel Jones can continue to improve as a deep ball thrower, like he proved it last year, top 10 in accuracy, you give him a weapon like Kenny Golladay, who's dominant in the deep passing game, 2 + 2 = 4 sometimes. And you might as well take the shot in the 5-6 turn. What are your thoughts?
I love that. And, he's a toss the ball up and go get it kind of guy. He's roll out, extend the play. Like I said, use his legs. I mean, he's going to jump. His vertical's over any DB. He's going to manhandle some of these DBs. The NFL is a place where you can't even really blow on these wide receivers or your flags coming out. So do I think he's going to dominate this year? A smart quarterback has the best player on the field. You throw the ball to the guy, plain and simple. Yep. I mean, that's what I would want to do. I'm sorry, I want to spread the ball around, maybe get some statistics, but when it comes to winning games, I want to put the ball in the best playmaker's hands on the field as often as I possibly can. And that's going to be Saquon, that's going to be Kenny G. So, and if they can be productive, they're going to make Daniel Jones look really good.
Oh yeah.
I'm liking it. I'm liking Kenny G's spot. I think New York's the big show me state, outside Texas, but it is, man. He's going to shine. He's going to thrive there. I think he's going to fit in well. New York's going to love Kenny G. You guys are going to love him.
I already do love him. But the other thing about this whole situation, too, is that's what Kyler Murray and Josh Allen did last year. They got the new elite number ones, and those two guys were top 2 or 3 in targets last year. The quarterbacks just got it. I thought a lot of us would be like, there would be like a little bit of time, for them to acclimate, but we really haven't seen too many elite prime number 1 wide receivers change teams. When you really look at it over the last 10 to 15 years, you can't really name that many guys.
Yeah.
Like remember Randy Moss when he went to the Patriots? I think that went well. Remember Brandon Marshall? Brandon Marshall would change teams every year and he would still be good. So when these guys are elite, they still produce. I think these young quarterbacks get it. Hopefully Daniel Jones, I've been reading reports that they're staying after practice and throwing. I love to hear that. So I'm actually buying Kenny Golladay now at the 5-6 turn when I literally just did a draft last week and I passed on him. And now I'm like, damn, I should have passed on him. So, but that's why we're doing the research in July. So August, when prime draft season, I'll be ready to go. All right, let's talk about
5-6 turn. It's a win-win. He's going to possibly give you wide receiver 1 numbers. It's potential there for that. So if you're getting, it's a win-win, man. It really is. He's definitely going to outperform that ADP.
100%. Yeah, I agree, man. It gives me that feel. Gives me that Stephon Diggs feels a little bit. And I don't think it's going to be that high of a ceiling, but kind of gives me those feels. A little bit, man. It does.
Stephon Diggs. I love my Stephon Diggs. I called him. Only a few people heard me, of course. It's one of those things. But I called him the next AB when he got drafted. I said that a lot to my brothers and a few other people. I was like, man, I watch that guy's going to be the next Antonio Brown, and he's doing well. He's coming into his own.
That's good, man. So let's talk about another Giants receiver, Sterling Shepard. And we're going to do this really quick. I only have one quick nugget that I just feel like has to be said. Listen, this is behind Kenny Golladay and Saquon Barkley, you have Shepard, you have Slayton, you have Tony, you have Rudolph, you have Engram. You have so many guys that are going to be a part of the next tier of targets. I can't confidently say that Shepard, I think Shepard will be the number 2 behind Golladay. I do think that's going to be the case. But when I was looking at Dallas and under Jason Garrett, I just was interested to see how many double-digit wide receiver seasons, 2 in the same year under Jason Garrett. Okay, so I looked from 2007 again, and this time I went all the way through to see how many guys actually – because double-digit fantasy points in half-point PPR is kind of the borderline when it's like, okay, after that, these guys aren't really startable consistently. So only 2 seasons in 2011 and 2012 was the Cowboys offense able to generate 2 wide receivers in double-digit fantasy points. So it's a little concerning to me that that isn't possible. Plus with Engram and Rudolph and Barkley, I'm just going to stay away from Shepard. I think it's going to be Golladay, it's going to be Barkley for me, and then maybe Daniel Jones later. But that's just like the one thing I thought was interesting. I just don't see it. But are you interested in Shepard as a slot receiver in this offense?
Not so much.
Yeah. This is an easy
I like
one.
Shepard. I haven't touched him. I haven't touched him as of yet, to be honest. I haven't really even looked at him, to be honest. Like I said, he's not like poof and he's pulled a magic Houdini trick or anything. But value wise, he's going in a great place. Right now he's that deeper wide receiver pool for dynasties. You got those 3 wide receiver leagues instead of 2 wide receiver leagues, so I can even flex him sometimes in those 2 flex wide receiver leagues. But I'm not taking him in my drafts right now. I'm not. Yeah.
He's going outside the top 60 in wide receivers. Yeah. And he's going outside the 150 at 170. So we're talking like 16th round in a 12-team league. It's deep. But I think if you're going to do this, you have to look at Christian Kirk and John Brown and Cole Beasley from last year. These secondary guys, once you bring in that new elite passer. So Jason Garrett has never been a very pass-heavy coordinator in the first place. I don't see the pass volume being big enough to support. And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, he's been a play caller since 2007. And to only produce 2 seasons with 2 double-digit wide receivers, that's kind of like, listen, you know what? It's not a good odds that it's going to happen. So I'm just going to look elsewhere for my late-round flyer.
Yeah, all right, let's talk. Who was those? Who was that double-digit guy? Was it either
it was
Beasley or was it Witten?
It was It was Miles Austin in the first year Dez Bryant was incorporated. So it was like Dez Bryant, Miles Austin. So it was kind of that transition year. And the second one the second one I think off the top of my neck, I knew I should have written this down. I think the second one was Terrence Williams had extra. No, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I forget his name now. I'll get you after the show. We'll get you. I'll tell you. It was a random guy. It was like Laurent Robinson or something. Like Laurent Robinson had a year with Bryant. It was very strange. It was a random wide receiver. I'm telling you. I'll get you the name. No worries.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Evan Engram. And this is going to be quick for me. I'm fading him 100%. Last year, this guy was not even remotely fantasy relevant, even with everything going his way. The injuries to the wide receivers. He was basically no Barkley, the only show in town. He still finishes a tight end 21 in points per game at 7 points per game. That's not going to get it done with the amount of targets he was getting. ECR right now has him as 15. ADP has him at 14. He's at ADP 134. They brought in Kyle Rudolph. I'm sorry, but that does not seem good to me. I don't know. Kyle Rudolph seems to me like the blueprint of Jason Witten, the type of tight end that Jason Garrett wants. Block and run for pass routes second. He doesn't want this glorified slot receiver at tight end, which is Evan Engram. I'm upset because I loved Evan Engram. He's a good, talented player. He just doesn't block well. He's not a traditional tight end. I think he's better fit for a Pat Shurmur and what they wanted to do back in the day. I just don't think that this is the offense for him. And it shows. Why would they bring in Kyle Rudolph, someone prominent like that? So I just don't know if there's going to be enough of volume for him. So I'm fading him completely. I don't even have him close to top 15. But what are your thoughts on Evan Engram? Are you willing to take him as like a last round pick as a flyer? He's going at pick 134 right now.
Yeah, no, I'm completely fading him also. Just like you just mentioned, man, same thing he did the year before last year also. Just injured half the year, can't play, had opportunity with Shepard going out, had opportunity to be the next man up. And he just couldn't produce. I was concerned about, everybody was concerned about Eli Manning's last year. Let's bring Daniel Jones in. Oh, he looks just like Eli Manning, all the hoopla, but he just hasn't done it. And like you said, he's not getting it done. Speaking of Rudolph, and coming from a Kubakian system, a Gary Kubakian system, where his son's still there in the Vikings, I'm thinking, like you said, what also is going to benefit Saquon, because everybody wants Saquon to succeed. They want to put this guy in a position to play. Which the Vikings were the most 12th personnel heavy run team. Next to my Eagles, by the way. They might brought Kyle Rudolph in, who just came from the Vikings, knowing how to block, like you just mentioned. Once a tight end to block, they want to protect Saquon, man. They're going to be bringing a lot of 2 tight end sets, 12-man personnel sets. and let Saquon do what he does, but give him an extra blocker to protect him, open up more lanes. I think that's what their plan is going to be, and that's going to open up everything for everyone. But Engram, I'm not touching him. I'd take Rudolph before I would take Engram.
Wow. I'm out on it all. I just don't think it seems like it's too convoluted, and Daniel Jones is too big of a question mark. If it was Patrick Mahomes slinging it, I would maybe consider, a pair of tight ends, but it's difficult for two tight ends to produce. I mean, the Eagles I'm not going to spoil my nugget. I have a good nugget about the tight ends of the Eagles. So I'm going to say, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. Nick, I want you to take a deep breath, stretch out a little bit before we get into your Eagles, but I'm going to jump on and talk a little bit about another one of our sponsors. It's Bomb Banana Hot Sauce. If you guys are interested, you guys love hot sauce. This is a great, new, different way of hot sauce. Bomb Banana is a banana-based, not a banana-flavored. SeekTheSpice.com. You can get the Muy Muy or the original. Guys, I did this on air 2 weeks ago. I'm not a big hot sauce guy, and I'll tell you this, it's awesome. I love it. Now I've been taking it with my blue cheese, putting it on my pizza. I love this stuff. So if you guys are into hot sauce, go check out our friends over at Bomb Banana and use the promo code TCK to get 10% off your order. It's a banana-based, not banana-flavored. So, Nick, I'm bringing you back in here, buddy. Let me ask you this. Oh, man, we've lost them. This podcast has gone rogue. No. So
I'm back.
Nick, I got you, man. So let me ask you this. Are you a spice guy?
Oh, man, 100%. I'm a big cook. I actually even went to culinary school, became a chef about 13 years ago, long before just one of those things. I love to cook. It relaxes me. I'm in the kitchen just about every day. I got a big garden in the backyard. I got a big smoker in the backyard. I am all about throwing down, bro. Big time. We got to get you a bottle of Bomb Banana. You got to try it. Let us know how you feel. Since you got a better palate than I do, what I'll do is I'm going to hook you up with that. We'll talk after the show. I'm going to get you a bottle of Bomb Banana hot sauce as a gift for being on the show with us. So you let us know. Then we'll get you on air again. You do a little taste test for us, and we'll get it like a true point. But let's get into your Eagles while you're here. We know this is why you're here, to talk about your Eagles. And the first thing is the big news is, of course, the head coaching change to Nick Sirianni, bringing in Shane Steichen, who's the offensive coordinator last year for the Chargers. These guys were together for plenty of years in San Diego, then L.A. They know each other very well. They both coached under Ken Wisenhunt and also Frank Wright for years. So this is an interesting combination, them coming together. The biggest news, though, other than that, is the offensive line getting healthy. I mean, Brandon Brooks, number one PFF run blocking guard from 2019. Huge loss last year. He's back. You also have Andre Dillard. We'll see if he's going to start. It sounds like he's going to be an open competition for left tackle. But Andre Dillard, first-round pedigree. Good to see him coming back as well. But also Lane Johnson last year didn't even play half the games. He was out a bunch. Yeah, Jason Peters trying to bring him back into the fold. He's in his late 30s. A lot of movement. But seeing these guys come back is great news for the offense. It is.
Also drafting a guy in Landon Dickerson, who obviously I think in his second-round pedigree could be a big guy for you guys, could be starting for you this year. We're not sure yet, but he could be another guy. He could be your eventual successor, maybe to Jason Kelsey at center. Not really sure, but at least gives you guys some depth at talent at the position. So if you do have these injuries again, you have some talent. But skill position players, too, on top of that. Not much in free agency. Bigger things came in the draft. You bring in, of course, Devonta Smith, who I'd love to get you. We're all excited about him, top 10 pick. Basically, Heisman Trophy winner. Gotta love it. And then Kenneth Gainwell. I think that some people are talking about Kenny Gainwell as a potential, problem for Miles Sanders. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. But before we get started on the players, talk to us a little bit about Nick Sirianni, what you learned about him. What are your thoughts about everything going on there?
So, Nick Sirianni was not everyone's favorite coach to get picked amongst the people that we brought in. We brought in, McDaniels. We brought him in from the Patriots. Great offensive coordinator for years for the Patriots. We didn't choose him. Joe Lombardi, which thank God we did not choose him. I am not a fan of Joe Lombardi at all. Who now technically took Nick Sirianni's place on the Chargers. Hey, let him have him. That's the one downfall I have with Eckler and Herbie this year, because when that guy was on Detroit, man, he was unimaginative. He was predictable. He was terrible. So I'm glad we didn't choose him. Nick Sirianni he's going to be the next guru, bro. You mentioned LaFleur earlier. There's locker room skepticism you've heard, right? In the last locker room skepticism we've heard was about Wentz, which we all knew was kind of unfolded and became true. A lot of convoluted information, as you said, about other things, and it played itself out. I'm a big fan of Hurts. I'm a big fan of the running quarterback. I'm a big fan of that evolutionary position. Michael Vick changed the NFL forever. They started drafting faster, more lenient lateral speed defensive ends when all that took place. They had to.
Yeah.
He literally revolutionized football. Nick Sirianni is going to be the next McVay. He's going to be this new imaginative mind, man. He is. He's going to be the next McVay. He's going to be the next Shanahan. Yeah, he's unproven, but look, every coach in every sport that's a first-year coach there's always some skepticism that's involved, right? Can this guy manage this team? When Reed came in '99, he was 40 years old, the same age as Sirianni, and all the skepticism. I was 16 years old, and I remember thinking, man, can he manage these huge superstars like Dawkins, like Hughes, like the big time names like McNabb? Can he manage these guys? Can he control this locker room, these superstars? And 14 years later, you know the story. 9 playoff appearances.
Oh, yeah.
2 Super Bowl appearances. 1 Super Bowl appearance, technically. 3 NFC championship appearances. He did pretty well. I'm glad to see the guy finally get a Super Bowl with Andy Reid, with the Chiefs. Sirianni, man, I'm stoked to have him because he is a product of Frank Wright. And I think everything that we've seen with the Eagles since Frank Wright left, we can see now that he was the real commander of the ship there. He really, really was. So Wentz probably is going to come back a little bit this year. He's going to do a little bit better. He's going to have 8 games in a dome, no weather, no wind. Sirianni's going to be great, man. He's going to do some things. His productivity with the wide receiver coach, the quarterback coach for the Colts, the Chargers, and the Chiefs over the last decade, he's performed at levels that his win-loss record is not the best, but he's put out amazing stats with his players. And also, like you said, the offensive coordinator we just brought in, Shane Steichen, with them being together, 3 Pro Bowls with Phillip Rivers when he had them. The wide receivers that he had, they all average, around 9th in passing, average 382 yards per game. That was 6th in the NFL for 5 years straight, just about. He's put out some productive guys. So I'm happy that these 2 guys have come together. Yeah. Because I'm excited about what they can bring, man. I'm really hoping that they utilize their players. I'm concerned about Miles and some other skill position players, but I think you're going to get to that. But as far as I think Sirianni's going to surprise the NFL. He's going to bring a lot of heat. All that flip a quarter talk, that was all BS, of course. That's just coach talk. He's having some fun. But coming from the Andy Reid tree, the Doug Peterson tree, all this same tree that has put out 50 good coaches, from Ron Rivera to you name it, man. Andy Reid, it's come from the Andy Reid tree the last 15 years plus. He falls under that. So I'm really optimistic. And I think he's going to take that right mentality that he brought to the Eagles. He's going to bring that back into Philly. And Philly needs it, man. We need a fresh face. We need it mixed up. I hope that Hurts does not get traded with Deshaun. I like Hurts. And the off the field antics with Deshaun right now, that would indicate to me if we traded him, then we are obviously in like full rebuild mode. Yeah. So then I'm out on I'm probably out on most Eagles because Nick Mullins going to be the quarterback. Because Deshaun Watson's issue could play out for 2 years, man. It's not like Tyreek Hill where it was one person. It's 20 or so. So if we actually trade for him and we get rid of Hurts, yeah, man, the Eagles it's not gonna be good. But it'll finally, writing will be on the wall. We'll finally know what's going on, which would be nice.
Let's get into Hurts. Let's talk about him. First of all, Hurts is, I think the hype is there. He's obviously right now going as technically an ADP. He's going outside the top 10 at 11, but ECR has him at 10. But he's being drafted consistently as a QB1 with 3 starts under his name. Yes, they were quality starts, but, still. And he's going inside the top 100 at pick 87. So he is going right around guys like Rodgers and Stafford and Tom Brady. And he offers that rushing dimension. So is he the next Lamar Jackson? Talk to me about Jalen Hurts. What's your thoughts on him for this season?
I love him, man. I liked him in college. You know, he is a very, very selfless guy. He's a captain that players are going to rally around. And like I just mentioned, we need that in Philly. It's one of the toughest towns to play in. If you can play in Philadelphia, you can play anywhere in the league. It's the kind of town where if you're not doing well in the games and you're losing games, and we see you out in the shopping, we see you out having dinner, we're going to say to you, hey, what are you doing? Get your butt on the field.
Yeah,
you lost last week.
Philly, baby.
Yeah. He's a team leader, man. So the production, you said, the three game sample size we saw. 283 yards a game passing. It wasn't the best passing production. I think he actually ranked about last in the league. But his on-pace record for 79.3 yards rushing per game, so call it round up 80 yards. That was an on-pace 17 game for about 1,349 yards. Now, that's something that I don't know if can be sustained. That's amazing. To look at it like that, that's amazing. His passing efficiency definitely needs to come up, man. You can't be 54.9% passing efficiency and expect to win games overall because, they're going to spy you. They're not going to let you run. So game over. They're going to jam Devonta Smith at the line. They're going to jam the wide receivers at the line, and you're going to get sacked. So I'm optimistic about him, though, because I think as your Giants are going to be, Sirianni and this guy, Steichen, they're going to put the players in the right position. I'm very optimistic about Hurts. Now, the dreaded second year, like you said about the quarterback, the dreaded second-year cap, even for Cam Newton, for Michael Vick, was they didn't eclipse 660 yards in their second year as rushing.
Rushing, yeah.
I definitely think Hurts can beat that. I can see him hit 750 yards, 800 yards easy. 1,000 yards, obtainable, but we'll see. I think the Eagles, like I said, it's going to be a very competitive division. A lot of game scripting involved. Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell are going to be involved. Kenneth Gainwell, man, he is a little Swiss Army knife, and I'm very excited about the guy because, Miles has also been hurt a little bit too much for me. But when he's on the field, he's amazing. He's got shifty feet. He can get the job done. But they're going to interject Gainwell a lot this year. Guy's been a player since high school. Let me tell you, wow, unbelievable stuff. I've researched on him. I'm actually fairly impressed. Yeah.
We'll get there. Trust me, man. We got you. I'm going to get you to every player. We're talking about every Eagle. We got you on this. But let's talk just a couple things about Jalen Hurts. I want to bring to the point here. When you look at the quarterbacks that Nick Sirianni has had, dating back to his days in Kansas City, Matt Castle, Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck. It's just been not mobile quarterbacks. But the one season in 2019, they had Jacoby Brissett, who's a little more mobile than most guys. He actually was 9th in rushes, 12th in rushing yards, and 4th in rushing touchdowns. So it showed that they're willing to adapt their offense a little bit to Jacoby Brissett. And now you infuse it's a Jacoby Brissett on steroids with Jalen Hurts. So I do like that from that standpoint. But one of the things I want to temper expectations on is you have to look at his games individually because in 6 points per passing touchdown leagues in the 3 starts he made, he had 21.1 points per 21.3 points per game points QB 13 that week. Then he had the QB 1 week, goes off 43 points, awesome. Love to see that upside. But then the next week, he goes QB 17, 20 points. So it's fine. I love his rushing ability. Gives you that safe floor. That's what you're kind of buying, though. He's going to give you that floor right around low-end QB1, high QB2, but then he gives you those shock weeks that can win you a week. So that's what you're paying for. So he might not be consistently top 5, top 6. You might be dealing with some lower-end numbers as he develops as a passer, develops with Devonta Smith, and these other receivers and the tight ends. But at the same time, you got to love the fact that he can give you the week-winning week. And that's a lot of quarterbacks can't do that. He can because of his legs. So that's just another thing I thought I would bring up with Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump into Miles Sanders, my friend.
I love that, man. Let's do it.
No, you tell me. Hey, listen, man, this is your team. You tell me what you want to talk about. You want to talk a little bit more about Jalen Hurts?
Barkley, Miles, both my Penn State, both my Nittany Lion Cats.
All right.
I was so mad when you guys got Saquon, but I was so happy when we got Miles. Man, what? I had Miles so high last year. I really, really did. I think I was one of the guys that had him. I think I had him top 10, amongst a few other people. Not too many people, but I was one of the few. And we just didn't look good, man. Wentz, like I said, our offensive line fell apart. We suffered all the injuries. Everybody suffered for it. So I'm wondering this year what the plan is. Like I said, there's a lot of new coaching schemes. I'm trying to look into the 12-man personnel as well now that Zach Ertz is coming back. And
yeah, right.
I'm
That's
really
crazy.
happy for Goddard, man. I've been taking Goddard everywhere. But it is that passing of the torch. It is. It's just like, Ertz took it from Selleck. Goddard's going to take it from Ertz now. And Philadelphia tight ends for the last 10, 12 years have been very, very productive tight ends. So I'm very excited about Goddard with or without Ertz there. Sorry, I know I did. We're on Miles Sanders. But
that's all right. I'm just letting you go, man. This is your show, dude. Let's do it.
Miles Sanders, man, he needs to be a little bit better. If you really, really take out that big game from that big out breakout run for Pittsburgh, his average yards per game, man, he had another week, I think it was week 12 or something, he had averaged 8.3 yards per game against Baltimore, even another really, really great run defense. So the two teams he really produced against were great rush defensive teams. But then he had 2.7 yards per game, 3.8 yards per game. The rest of the season, very a lackluster, just not what you expected. So he's not – I'm taking him in the back of the third round right now, maybe mid-third round, but I'm not really drafting him, to be honest with you. I'm kind of off him. I'd rather take a CEH right there.
We're going to put you on the clock later, man. We're putting you on the clock with Miles Sanders. Don't you forget, man. Don't spoil it. We already know you just spoiled Miles Sanders. We know you're not taking him. Damn it, man. Come on.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Miles Sanders, to me, I actually did a spotlight on him. I did a lot of research on him because there's a lot of noise about Kenneth Gainwell. And if you actually just look at Nick Sirianni and how they actually use Nyheim Hines with guys like Marlon Mack, it's like a perfect example. Like, they came in 2018, they drafted Nyheim Hines in the 4th round of that year. Nyheim Hines comes in, he gets 63 targets. Marlon Mack still finishes at RB11 in points per game that season. The next season, RB20 with Jacoby Brissett. And then Jonathan Taylor last year, monster season, but Nyheim Hines was still a top 24 back in half points in full point PPR leagues. Yeah. There's room for 2 guys in this offense, and it's been proven. It's proven Marlon Mack is not even close to the talent that Miles Sanders is. So I think people need to it's the real question comes, are you willing to take Miles Sanders over, a top 10 wide receiver like a Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, even Terry McLaurin? That's where the question comes. If you really need that running back, of course, you're going to take Sanders, but I don't think he's going to do better than guys like Allen Robinson and, of course, Terry McLaurin. So that's the problem I have with Miles Sanders. But from when it comes down to it, he's going to be a top 20 back. I think it's ridiculous people think he's not going to be a top 20 back. All they do is produce top 20 backs with Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, the days are gone of not every team has a Derrick Henry, man. Not every team has that Zeke or that Le'Veon, in their prime, that AP. So the teams that don't have those guys, those rock pounders, those bruisers, the days of having that one, the days are old. They're gone. Those are days of old. The days are now of two running backs, and it's rightfully so. You could talk about the whole hoopla with James Robinson and Travis Etienne. I mean, it was smart. I know he wanted Kadarius Toney, so you guys nabbed him. That was at least what he said rumor-wise out on Twitter. Who knows how, that really is true. But, man, he got Travis Etienne. He's got continuity with Trevor Lawrence. He knows timing. He's got those things down. But he's not going to, just like you're saying, he's not going to come in and supplant James Robinson, just like Gainwell's not going to come in and just supplant Miles. There's room for both of them. They're both going to be productive. Gainwell's, man, he's a little Swiss Army knife. So I'm very excited about what he can see. But will he take some stuff from Miles? He absolutely will. They're going to utilize him a lot. And I can talk about him. And
let's go. Just go right into Kenny Gainwell. Right? He's just inside the top 150. So, he's being drafted. So are you willing to take him in that range?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm loving him, man, in that range. Especially this year with the 18-week schedule. Especially playoff teams. If there's playoff teams, if the Eagles can make it to the playoffs, or I think other teams are going to sit more of their stud players more than ever before. I also think that with this extra extended week, of course, not an extra bye week or any kind of thing of rotation worked into the to the divisions, there's going to be more opportunities for these young rookies to come in and perform because there's going to be more rest required for the guys that are getting the starting roles towards the end of the year. These younger rookies are going to come in and have a lot more opportunities this year than they ever did before. So I'm taking rookies in drafts more than I've ever done before. Man, Kenneth Gainwell going back to high school. Talk about a little Wes Welker. Talk about a little Taysom Hill, a little Swiss Army knife. The guy put up over like 1,600 yards, 10 touchdowns as a quarterback. And he also did 1,400 yards and 20 touchdowns with his legs. He did that for about 2 years in high school. Gets over to Tulane, goes to college, kicks butt there, transfers over to Memphis, kills it there, man. I mean, he can do it all. He can quarterback. He can running back. He is a complete Swiss Army knife, Cordell Stewart kind of player.
Nice.
I'm really excited to see how they utilize him. I hope they, it's like the argument with Cam Akers versus Antonio Gibson. Now Cam Akers is gone. They're both amazing running backs, right? Ron Rivera, who come from CMC, comped a Gibby to CMC. Okay, that one comment alone thrusted his ADP. It really did. That one comment alone did. But which coach? They're both amazing values, both amazing talents, going right around the same spot. Which coach is going to use their guy right? That's what it comes down to. I'm a big person on utilization. I want to see coaching schemes fit with players and put their players in the best position to win, because you got to utilize their strengths. You really do. You got to bring it, man. And Sirianni is going to bring this fresh new, like I said, he's going to be the new Sean McVay on the tablet before anybody else was on the tablet.
I like it.
Some kind of new virtual reality headset on. Everybody was like, what's he doing on that tablet, man? And now everybody's doing it.
All right, man. Listen, I like you. This is why we bring guys on to talk about their teams. You bring in that passion, but let's talk about somebody that you probably should be really hyped about, Devonta Smith. Your first round pick. As a rookie, we've seen more rookies like Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, hit the ground running and blow up and do great. Now, I've done some research on draft capital, and the fact he's a top 10 receiver, it's better than a 50-50 shot that he's going to succeed. So that's good news from a success standpoint. Obviously, Chase is probably the one guy we think is going to succeed. Then it comes down to him and Waddle. My money's on Smith. But what are your thoughts about Devonta Smith year one? Do you think he can make a Justin Jefferson-esque type of impact, or do you see him maybe taking a year or two to kind of develop into more of a prominent role for fantasy purposes?
I think he can make an immediate impact, especially with a running quarterback like Hurts. I've done another write-up on Devonta Smith. I've showed, from from Matt Harmon's reception perception, I've showed that he is actually more efficient and more productive at every other route, even Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Terrace Marshall, Rashad Bateman. And when I got a lot of commentary on that post, once everybody was like, hey, where do you get these stats from? I said, Matt Harmon, man. Everybody, okay, he's legit. And, and I reached out to him via DM. I said, hey, is it okay that I use these stats? He said, yeah, just reference a link back to my page for this, reception perception, and he let me throw it up. And as soon as I dropped his name, everybody was kind of like, oh, okay. But, the proof, like you said, is in the pudding. If you're going to show the stats, show the right stats. And I did. And he's the first unanimous Heisman Trophy winner as a wide receiver in 30 years next to Desmond Howard. Who did it before that? Tim Brown. Tim Brown did it before that. There's been 4 wide receivers that won the Heisman Trophy, man. And this guy just did it in a COVID year, killed the national championship game, 3 touchdowns, 230-something yards. His spectacular catch rating is going to be 99 in Madden next year. Watch. He's going to be in Madden 22 with a spectacular catch rating of 99. I mean, the balls that he goes up and gets, I mean, I know Jamar does the one-handers, but I can do that too, bro. I can catch the ball one-handed too. I really can.
Nice.
But I can't jump up. I can't jump up.
That's all right, man. It's all right.
And I can't do that. I can't, I'm sorry. I can't do that for you guys. I can't jump up and elevate and focus and turn around and tap my toes down. I mean, The kid's amazing, man. I'm excited about him. His size isn't something I'm concerned about. His like I said, you can't even touch the wide receivers in the NFL. What am I worried about? I mean, is he going to take a hit over the middle? He'll find out real quick. They're going to beef him up. He's going to be eating. He's getting his Wheaties. He's eating rice and beans, and I'm sure he's bulking up. He's going to put 10, 20 pounds on before the season, I would think, man. I see he goes into the season weighing at least 190. He should weigh 185, 190 going into the season.
So the one thing I will say that I'm encouraged about is Nick Sirianni was just part of a coaching staff with a guy, T.Y. Hilton. Smaller guy, 5'10", 183, not the biggest guy, but they made sure to put him in the right positions, just like you talked about. You want to see utilization, how they use these guys. T.Y. Hilton, for example, they used a lot in the slot. Absolutely. They gave him 28% in the slot in 2018 to 19, 18% in 2020, which is a little bit lower than you want, but he was still being utilized in the slot. But then his slot targets, 31% of his targets were in the slot, 25, 22. So they're using him away from those outside perimeter corners, getting him off press man. Unique stuff like that is going to help Devonta Smith, and I think Nick Sirianni is smart enough to do that. That's why I think Devonta Smith right now, he's going in like the 8th, 9th round. He's not even going that high. And he's probably the last true wide receiver one for fantasy purposes going on a team. So it's worth the shot, especially because he's probably, without a doubt, the slam dunk number one on this team. All right, let's talk about Jalen Reagor, my friend.
He is the number one of this team. Let's do it. I love Reagor too, man. He needs to perform. He needs to perform better. Also another letdown last year. But with Smith being on the field also, he's going to open up some stuff for Reagor. He's going to open up the middle of the field a little bit. You can blow by those linebackers. He's going to take that safety over the top. Smith's going to take that safety over the top and allow Reagor and Goddard. Sorry, I still say it wrong. I think I just started making fun of him, calling him Gogurt or something.
There you go.
Yeah, man, they're going to take the safety off the top. And the middle of the field is going to be wide open for Goddard. It's going to be wide open for Reagor. I liked Fulgham last year, man. I really liked what he had going on there for 4 or 5 games. I do. I liked what he had going on. He had a little connection. He was about the only quarterback that had a connection with Wentz. He really was.
Yeah.
But he's a little speed demon. He can get in the field. He's an open field runner. I don't know if he's that streak down the wide receiver fade kind of guy. He's not the best route runner as of right now. He needs separation. He needs zone coverage. He's not the best in man coverage. He doesn't have the necessary footwork, I think, like a Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith has that quick coverage footwork, that speed with his long stride is very deceptive for defensive backs to gauge his start to full speed. That's why he's able to blow by people the way he is. That's how Randy Moss was. That's those guys that are lanky, like they have that deceptive stride, and it just makes them, their speed is completely different. Where Reagor, a little short, a little compacted dude, you can hang with him. But I think if we can, like I said, we make a connection. I'm just curious, like you said, man, I'm really wondering if only 3 games. It's not that second year like a Daniel Jones. It's not that second year continuity. It was 3 games. And now it's 3 games with only a new coach. So we might start off slow. I'm hoping we're gonna have to make a last season, probably a halfway point season push to take the division if it's going to happen. We got a lot of young talent. We are the youngest team right now in the NFC East. It just needs to come together, bro. It needs to come together. So there's a lot of potential in the Eagles. But
yeah, I think the other thing with mobile quarterbacks too is it does limit how many guys can truly be fantasy relevant with mobile quarterbacks. I love mobile quarterbacks for the actual player, not necessarily great for the receiving and running backs. It does detriment because they are taking away plays and potential for those guys. So that's one thing to factor in. But let's move into the tight ends. Dallas Goedert. It sounds like you're already hyped on him. But what are your thoughts with Ertz coming back now? Are you still excited? Yeah. He's going currently today. He's going as consensus the number 7 tight end off the board, ECR number 7. He's going at pick 82. That's right around the back of the 7th round. Are you still willing to take Goddard there knowing Ertz is coming back?
Yeah, man, I am. I'm very high on Goddard. Everything I watch in him, it's like when he catches the ball, he floats on the field. He's got great hands. A couple of drops last fair, not too often. Ertz was actually dropping balls last year. He was making some drops. He was probably outside of Fulgham the next. He was the second best productive player on the Eagles last year. I'm very excited about him, man. He's going to take that leap. I think he'd be a top 5 tight end. I'm looking forward to him putting up numbers that are going to bring him somewhere probably around 70, 80 receptions. I'm hoping for 7, 8 touchdowns. I'm also hoping that they can, if they're bringing Ertz back, let's run some 12-man personnel. I want to see that 12-man personnel. I like that. I want to see Miles and Kenneth succeed. So Fulgham's going to take, once again, like I said, he's going to take that wide receiver. He's going to take that DB. He's going to take that safety off the top. So the field should be wide open this year. The middle of the field should be wide open. He can blow by linebackers easy. So I like him, man. When I first started doing drafts, I was getting Goddard in probably the 8th or 9th round, honestly.
Yeah.
So now for him to be in the 7th, he's bumped up a little bit. He's definitely increased a little bit. But I'm still pulling the trigger on him. I am. He's probably the most drafted player I have right now.
All right. So my thing is this: when you look at if you look at the 7 games last year that Ertz and Goddard actually played together on the field, played together, they mirrored each other almost exactly. I mean, targets 42 for Ertz, 41 for Goddard.
Yeah.
Receptions 24 for Ertz, 29 for Goddard. Goddard obviously was the more productive player, but they capped each other because Goddard only averaged 7.6 points per game in half-point PPR. And Ertz was at 6.4. That's not going to get it done. That's not 8th round tight end production that you need to get. You need to see him kind of – now, granted, this is the type of offense. Nick Sirianni, the one thing I worry about too is they rotated tight ends last year in Indy. They had Trey Burton. They had Jack Doyle. They had Mo Alley Cox. And those guys all got capped out because they were using 3 guys constantly. So that, Richard Rodgers is still on the roster. I mean, I could see them doing some crazy stuff with him on there, whatever it is. So my thing is – so my thing is – the one thing about this offense, you would have to get to that 2019 level. You actually did in pass plays. You went up to 51% for two tight end personnel. So I looked on this, and it's like that's unheard of, right? Usually it's about 33%, 35%. That's high. 51% in 2019 is what you're going to need to have 2 tight ends and have 1 produce. So that season, Goddard averaged 8 points per game. Ertz 11. So it's doable. But then you're basically having half your pass plays. You have to bank on the outlier. You have to bank on the fact that they're going to go 12 personnel, pass plays 50% of the time. So these guys are on the field enough and not canceling each other out. So it gives me pause. I think that's why I used to love Goddard, but the fact Ertz is back, I think I'm fading him. All right, man. So listen.
That's very sound logic. Right.
You know what, dude? All right. As the last thing, I promise you, we're going to put you on the clock. Now, I don't have all the time in the world to do all these, so I'm going to ask you which guy you want to be on the clock for. Do you want to do Miles Sanders, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, or would you rather do Jalen Hurts? Which round do you want to do?
Well, since I already technically did Miles Sanders.
Yeah, we can't do that one.
Let's do let's do Travis Fulgham, bro. Let's do Travis Fulgham.
Travis Fulgham? That's not even an option.
Let's do 2 for 1. Yeah, do it.
No. Listen, no, we're not doing.
No, I'm joking. No.
I got you. Let's do 2 for 1. Let's do Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith. They're going right next to each other. Might as well. 2 for 1 action here. We're in the 7th round. Okay, you're in the middle of the 7th. You got guys like Jerry Jeudy, Raheem Mostert, Melvin Gordon. You got your 2 boys, Devonta Smith and Goddard in this range. Tyler Boyd, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. He just signed in Matthew Stafford. You're on the clock. Are you taking one of your Eagles, or are you pivoting in the back of the 7th round?
I'm probably going to go ahead and pivot, honestly. I'm going to go ahead and pivot. Right. I'm a huge I love Jerry Jeudy. So that's where I'd be pulling my trigger.
Okay.
I wouldn't touch Raheem. I think Raheem probably has 6 to 8 games left in him. That's why I like Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon's going to come on, halfway through the season. But yeah, I'm going to pivot on Jerry. I like Jerry.
All right.
And I don't know if you've been seeing what he's doing, but Judy's looking nice. So
Teddy B, man,
I'm high on Smith. But look, the Eagles haven't put out a 1,000-yard wide receiver since Jeremy Maclin in 2014. And he was the last one. The last one before that was a decade before. So 6 years before Djax. But I mean, dude, it's just they don't put up 1K wide receivers. We haven't. It's the tight ends that succeed. It really has been the tight ends that succeed in Philly. You know?
All right, man. Listen, you know what?
So
I appreciate you, the thoughtfulness, pivoting away from your Eagles, and that just shows how honest you are, and that's why I appreciate you, man. Going to Jerry Jeudy. By the way, love Jerry Jeudy. Love the pick. I'm on board with you on this pick. But before we go, I just want to do one more thing. Before we go, I'm going to do one more ad, and I'm going to get you. I want to make sure we talk a little bit about you, where we can find you. So one of our sponsors is Jersey Jungle. So Jersey Jungle, guys, if you guys during this season, if you guys are looking for the new jerseys, you got a Devonta Smith. You know, we got a guy on here who's an Eagles fan. We got to go to the Jersey Jungle, get you a Devonta Smith jersey. All you got to do right now, guys, they're on Instagram. You go to Jersey Jungle on Instagram. You can DM them, and then you can actually use the TCK promo code. Tell them we came and sent you. You get 10% off for one jersey, 2 jerseys, and 15% off 3 jerseys using the TCK promo code. The best part is, guys, in a couple weeks, I'll be repping a Kenny Golladay jersey. So I'm backing it up, repping some Jersey Jungle jerseys. But if you guys have the chance before the season, get yourself a fresh jersey, go to Jersey Jungle and use that TCK promo code. Nick, before we get out of here, tell us where people can find you. Tell us about some of the things you're doing. Give us a little insight about what's going on over there.
Awesome, man. Hey, man, well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys all for having me on tonight. If I was able to provide any insight for you, I hope I was. You guys can find me over on Instagram. It is the only social media platform I have, as of now, anyways. Fantasy football guy. I know it's a little hard to say. That's it, just fantasy football guy. I'm all about charity, guys. I love being able to, if I can utilize fantasy football to bring awareness as a conduit and bring awareness to Wigs for Kids, like I'm doing a charity for, hence my bald, kids that are dealing with alopecia, balding secondary to having to have chemotherapy treatments and stuff like that. These kids, it's a very insecure thing for them, and I want to be able to provide for them. And we raised almost $1,000 last year. We have some big name celebrities this year in the league. The guy Yuri who streaked across the football field in the Super Bowl game last year in the pink G-string, we got him. We got this.
Nice.
We got the Sons and 4 guy in the league. We have an ex-UFC fighter, and then we have some big time animals. I'm excited about that. I'm also doing a firefighter charity league, so we're doing that. We're going to raise money for the Fallen Firefighter Fund. A lot of those hot shots and stuff over there, the Granite Mountain guys. So just trying to raise money for the families. And those guys aren't home. Me being a former firefighter, this charity kind of really hits home to the heart for me. So I'm happy to be starting that one up. It's the first year. Also, guys, I've become an affiliate with 2 companies. First and foremost, they just got picked up on Shark Tank by Mark Cuban. You guys all know him, the infamous Mark Cuban. It's called Trophy
Very
Smack.
nice.
They're a very, very big new trophy fantasy football trophy and championship belt company. And if you guys want to head on over this year and get your very, very customizable trophies and championship belts, they can customize them to your league. They're throwing you guys this year. We're comping you guys all for a free championship ring that you can wear out and about and throw in your league mates' faces. So that's a great promo code right now. You guys can get on over there and get some championship belts and trophies. Just a FF Bald guy. And
there you go.
Also, secondary, I got one last thing. If you guys like FanDuel, if you guys like DraftKings, I just partnered with the fastest growing site called Monkey Knife Fight, and they're awesome. They got some prop games on there where you get to bet on individual players. It's a lot of fun. It's a little difficult. I've proven to be a little difficult for me because it's not like a normal site, but it's a lot of fun, guys, and it's the fastest growing site in the country right now. And sign on up. I hope you guys can all play and have fun this year, make a little money. And I've really appreciated you guys having me on today. It's been awesome.
Hey, thanks, Nick, man. Listen, dude, this was episode 421, breaking down the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, guys, you can follow us everywhere, Twitter, Instagram. Put that shit down. So, this was a great episode, guys. Really appreciate Nick being on. Guys, we'll definitely be back later this week. Sky's going to be dropping a couple episodes on the Cowboys and also talking a little bit about the 4th team, the Washington football team. So, this is Bobby LaMarco, episode 421 in the books. For Nick, for Bobby, appreciate you guys. Join us back soon.